want to take time to do this video to show a little more about our PRF tool and what we can do to work with clients and customize their PRF coverage to be aggressive, be conservative. Kind of depends on what kind of premium they want, and we'll kind of step through what we look at when we look at a grid and working with a client on how they want to set their PRF up. So this is our tool here. We'll start out with doing a grazing scenario in New Mexico, Chavez County, do grid 15701. Our tool defaults to the 90% coverage level at $1.45, but that part of New Mexico, probably nobody's going to be wanting to spend that much. So let's take that down to 90 cents an acre and go down to, let's say, the most we want in any one level is 45% in one interval. So we'll do that and hit search. And our tool now is going over all the optimizations for that grid for that premium. If you look at the interval combinations for PRF, you have to cover 2-month intervals at a time. There's 176 different combinations that you can spread throughout the year on how you want to try to cover the whole year with your intervals. In this case, it returned a result. We'll look at our summary here. What it's showing in this case, what we call the aggressive, returned at 70% coverage level, 118% protection factor. And the reason we say that's aggressive, we're trying to maximize this total net indemnity under the aggressive side. And with this premium for this scenario, you're looking at 5 out of those 20 years, you had to pay some kind of premium. On the years you did, average $3 or $3.26 total, or 65 cents average over the 5. But total net indemnity over the 20 years was $43.61, and that's net, so that would be after the premium subtracted. Our conservative over here, you're looking at saying going the 90% level, 65%, and net indemnity is $24.88. Only had 1 year out of the last 20 it didn't cover the premium, and in the year it didn't, you'd only paid 74 cents. So even on that 1 year, it helped pay part of the premium. And this is what we like to work with customers. And aggressive is trying to maximize total net indemnity. Conservative is trying to get this out-of-pocket premium total as low as it can. In this case, it got it down to 74 cents. So now that we can look at what we got, it's saying aggressive at 70%. We'll look at aggressive. This is how it would spread the coverage out in the intervals across the year. 45% in January, February, 10% April, May, 45% August, September. That's the aggressive coverage. If we go back, conservative was at 90%. We can look at 90% conservative. This is the spread for your intervals now. 18% January, February, 27% May, June, 45% July, August, 10% October, November. That particular spread over the last 20 years, and we look at a 20-year history when we design our tool. We're looking at the last 20 years and trying to either maximize or minimize, depending if it's aggressive or conservative, those returns. And of course, the summary tab here lets us see both of those together and kind of work with the customer. Now in this case, we did 45%. A lot of PRF agents would say you always buy 90% and you always spread the intervals out across the whole year. It's what we call spread and pray. And this is going to show you kind of an example of the difference between what we return as an optimal return versus spread and pray. So spread and pray, you take it down to 17% because that's going to force it to drive it across the whole year equal, or as close as you can to equal. Do a search. Now we've got new returns. Notice now, aggressive is still at 70, but our returns now are at 27.78, and now there's 6 years it hadn't paid, an average with a total of 353 an acre. And what's very interesting though here on the conservative side, because normally people will say spread and pray, as we call it, is really conservative because you're going to hit every one of your intervals. Well, look, a while ago we were at a 1, only 1 year didn't pay, so 19 out of 20 did. Now you've got 6 years it didn't pay. And look, your total out-of-pocket cost went from 74 cents to $2.29. And historically, this is what we've seen on a lot of grids. In fact, we did an analysis last year, went back through every PRF policy we've ever written and compared what it paid for the way we optimized versus the spread and pray. So it took a lot of work to go back and rebuild all those indemnities based on what spread and pray would have been. When we did that comparison, we were 123% above by using our optimization versus basically what the industry's trying to do is just spread it out across every interval and buy 90% every time. And sometimes you can't even buy 90. Like in this case, at 90 cent, you couldn't even get up to the 90% interval. So normally the agent's going to say, well, you ought to spend more money to at least get to 90%. We say where you're comfortable at is where you need to be spending your premium. And if 90 cents is where you feel comfortable covering your ranch, that's where you need to be. Let us work with you to try to find that optimal combination. If you want to spend some more, the nice thing about our tool, it's going to re-optimize. Let's say we want to take this up to $1.50 an acre. I'm going to go back to the 45% here, and we'll do a new optimization. It's running through all the choices. So there, about 4 to 5 seconds, we return the result. But what's going in the background there, though, is about 4 million calculations. Because what we do, we optimize every one of those interval selections across the year to cover the whole year, depending on how much percent coverage you want in any one interval. And then, depending if you're trying to maximize or minimize for aggressive or conservative, it then starts moving them up or down a percent at a time, trying to make sure it still finds the best one based on that premium. And the more premium you have in there, the more calculations it actually has to do. But we figure roughly about 4 million based on kind of the premium levels we work with guys. And that 4 to 5 seconds is just fascinating to us because in the beginning, we started out this same concept on a spreadsheet tool and developed the optimization inside. Actually had to use an outside plugin for Excel because Excel couldn't even run it the way we wanted it. But worked with it. Again, it would take about 4 to 5 minutes though, sometimes to return a result. So literally I've talked to guys about their grandkids, about their wife's quilting business, all sorts of things while you're waiting for it to come up and give you a result. And so now, much quicker, and we think does a way better job of working with the customer and doesn't take their valuable time, but still gives them the result they need to see how they can work with PRF to fit their operation. Notice now, our total net indemnity now has jumped up a lot because we're covering a lot more coverage per acre because we're spending more premium per acre. Our total net's up to $69.89 an acre, and 5 out of 20 years that it didn't pay. And the sum of those 5 years you had to come up with the premium, $4.80. That's on the aggressive side. Look on our conservative. Now we've bumped up to $40.49, and we're still only 2 years out of 20 that didn't pay. And then the total of those were only $1.37. So again, if somebody wants to spend a little more premium, we can work with them because we want to see what works best with their risk parameters and what they feel like they need to cover on their ranch. And that's why we think the tool is so valuable and really like to work with producers. And you can see here the differences. We'll look at the conservative because we're already at 90%. This is the spread. You notice how it's changed a little bit as we went up in premium. Our aggressive now is at 75%, so we'll change to 75. Look at our aggressive. I see our aggressive has changed now, how it spreads that coverage out throughout the year, depending on what the premium was. Because our tool is optimizing every interval based on that particular premium. And that's why we think it's so powerful and really think it delivers something good for customers. Another aspect of our tool that, depending on the producer, some of them don't want coverage in certain intervals. They just feel like they just don't have any risk in that interval, and we can turn that off. So in this case, if we turned off January, February, re-optimize, it's going to give us a different return, return a different result. So in this case, by taking out January, February, look at our conservative over here. We've gone to 3 years, $1.91, still pretty good total net indemnity. Aggressive, it really dropped down though from the 68 to the 54. So you can see how the difference of not putting in January, February would have done. So if we look at that, it shifted April, May, August, September, November, December. So it's changed a little bit because we've told it we're not going to do something in January, February. Again, our tool is really flexible. Try to work with producers how they want to customize PRF to fit their individual operation. And again, we do this for any of our customers on any of their grids. We don't want to be just a blanket, say, again, just covered across every interval and, oh, I'm going to get a little money no matter what because it's going to miss one of those intervals. Well, we feel you get a lot better return by actually working with the tool and trying to optimize your selections. In any case, we always will show the rainfall historically for that grid. We're pulling our rainfall directly off the same data set that RMA is using when it calculates payouts. We pull that data in every day in our own system, decode it, and as we work with customers, we get them on our email list. We'll send them an update every day. If they have rain in one of their grids, they're going to get an email from us saying this is what the rainfall recorded in your grid based on what the NOAA stations aggregated across that grid. Now, some of the grids don't have rainfall stations in them, but every grid has a value every day, whether that's a 0 or whether it's an inch. RMA grabs that from the NOAA grids, and that's what they use to calculate payouts. This tool was developed in-house, and we're really proud of it. We think it really helps our customers make the best use of PRF. Once you look at the website, if you have any more questions, please reach out to us. Give us a call or send us an email. We'd love to visit with you about your PRF coverage.